There was a monster the size of a mountain in front of me. My sword was broken. My left arm was gone. I was the last human alive. It felt like the end. The sky above was black. It was not dark, but true black. It looked like someone scraped the sun out with a knife. Behind me, my entire world was on fire. Every city and home was destroyed. Every person I ever knew was gone. The creature that caused this stood right in front of me. It was grinning. The monster was named Barhout was the end of the world. This creature was the reason my name became a curse. I stopped counting the dead because of him. I raised the remaining part of my blade. My hands would not stop shaking. This was not from fear, but from total exhaustion. I had been swinging this sword for 40 years. Those 40 years were spent losing. Now, I prepared for the last swing. Barhout's voice cracked the ground as he told me I had already lost. He told me to just lie down. I told him he was wrong. I moved, and the world seemed to move with me. My sword was a useless and blood-soaked stump. However, it cut through the monster like paper. The creature screamed, and I screamed louder. Light exploded out of both of us. Then a tear opened in the sky. It was a rip in the universe. Barhout saw the rip too. His eyes went wide with surprise. Something was happening that even he did not expect. Then his body started pulling apart, piece by piece. The tear pulled him in. My own body was being pulled with him. I tried to grab the ground. My hand passed right through the earth. I was being dragged into the same hole as the creature I hated most. This was definitely not part of the plan. The last thing I saw was his dissolving face. The world I failed to save disappeared behind me. Then I was falling through nothing. It felt like I fell for 100 years. Eventually, I hit something soft and warm. I felt something breathing. My eyes flew open. I was looking at a white ceiling. There was a light bulb above me. I had not seen a light bulb in 40 years. That was when I realized I was not in my own body. I sat up and noticed my arms were thin. My chest was thin and everything felt weak. I looked at my hands. These hands did not belong to me. They belonged to a young kid. My reflection appeared in the window across the room. I looked like a boy of maybe 17 years old. There were bruises on his cheek and a busted lip. This face was not mine. Then I felt a second heartbeat. It was barely there and fading fast. Someone else was in this body with me. The other soul was dying. A small and weak voice spoke inside my skull. He told me to just take the body. It was the soul of the kid. He whispered that he could not fight anymore. He asked me to protect his mother and little sister. I knew that voice well. I heard it from every dying soldier. My throat locked up as he repeated his plea. Then the second heartbeat stopped. I was alone in this body. I looked at a photograph on the wall. A woman was smiling next to a little girl with pigtails. A thin and sad boy stood between them. The boy in the photo was me now. The name Isio Dojin came to me from his memories. He was 17 years old and in high school. He had debt and faced bullies. His family thought he was still gentle. I wondered what I had just agreed to do. Then the door opened. A woman walked in. She was the mother of this boy. The woman was crying. She whispered my name and thanked God that I was awake. I froze because I did not know her. However, her eyes were the same as my own mother's eyes. This was before Barhout took her 40 years ago. I made a decision right there. The sword god was dead. Seo Dojin was now alive. I was going to keep my promise. My mother held my hand as if it were made of glass. She asked if I remembered what happened. Memories of the kid flooded in fast. He had been jumped after school by 3 guys. They kicked him until he stopped moving. They left him in an alley. A stranger eventually called an ambulance. This was a big mistake for those 3 men. I asked how long I had been out. My voice sounded deeper than before. My mother told me it had been 2 days. A whole world could end in 2 days. Then I saw the television in the corner. The screen showed a crack in the middle of a street. Blue light was bleeding out of it. Something was crawling out of the opening. My blood froze at the sight. I recognized that as a gate. This was exactly how it started in my old world. Small ones appeared first, before everything ended. I asked my mother about the television. Everything spun as I sat up too fast. My mother sighed as she glanced at the screen. She said another gate had opened in Busan. It was rank F and already cleared. She told me there was nothing to worry about. Everyone in my world said the same thing. They said it right before the sky turned black. I leaned back on the pillow. This world had not fallen yet. However, I knew exactly how many days it had left. I knew exactly who I needed to kill first. Then, a small voice came from the door. A little girl named Yuna stood there. She was maybe 11 years old. Yuna had big eyes and was holding a paper crane. She whispered a question asking if I was okay. I understood that I did not have 40 years to figure this out. I had to start my mission today. 3 days later, I was walking to school. I wore the uniform and carried the backpack. Everything about this body felt wrong. The muscles were soft and the lungs were weak. My reflexes were 2 beats behind. However, my sword arm remembered its training. Muscle memory lives in the soul. My soul had been swinging swords since I was 5. I felt eyes on me at the school gate. A group of boys watched me near the vending machine. The leader was a tall boy with slicked back hair. He wore a designer watch and a smug face. His name was Hunjail. He was the son of a rich chief executive officer. Hunjail was the kid who put SEO Dojin in the alley. That was a big mistake on his part. He started walking toward me with his 2 buddies. He joked about me crawling out of the hospital. He asked if I had learned my lesson last time. I stopped and said nothing. I just looked at him. This was the same way I looked at Bar. Hunjail hesitated as his smile flickered. His buddies did not notice the change. The leader noticed something was very wrong. He asked if I had something to say. His voice sounded a little smaller. I told him to say it again. He seemed confused by my response. His hand twitched toward my collar. That was when I moved. I caught his wrist in the middle of the air. He did not even see it happen. 1 second, his hand was reaching out. The next second, I was holding it and squeezing. I did not squeeze too hard. I squeezed enough to remind him where his bones were. His face went white. He told me to let go. I squeezed a little more as a warning. Something cracked, but did not break. He dropped to 1 knee in front of everyone. His buddies and the whole schoolyard froze. I leaned down very close to his ear. I told him that he had touched my sister's brother. He did not understand because of the pain. I promised to take his whole arm next time. Then I let go. He fell flat on his back and breathed heavily. I kept walking toward my class. Nobody said a word or even seemed to breathe. One of his buddies eventually helped him up. The buddy asked what had happened. Honjao could not answer him. He finally felt what it was like to be small. I walked into homeroom like nothing had happened. The teacher noted that I was late. I nodded and sat down in my seat. Then I felt a ripple in the air. Something in this world just noticed me. I realized there was a system in this world. This was an interesting development. I was walking home when the alarm went off. Every phone on the street rang at once. A warning announced a rank F gate nearby. It was 2 kilometers away. Hunters were told to report immediately. People started running away from the alarm. I was the only one walking toward it. I knew I should go home. My body was weak, and I had no plan. However, something was pulling me forward. It felt like the smell of a fight. I turned down the alley toward the alarm. 2 blocks later, I saw the tier. It was 12 feet tall, with blue light. A small crowd of civilians was backing away. Then a monster stepped through the opening. It was shaped like a wolf, but had 6 legs. The creature had no eyes and only a mouth. This was a rank F monster. In my old world, this was common trash. I sighed and walked toward the beast. A civilian tried to stop me. The wolf creature spotted me and charged. Its jaw was wide with fangs like knives. I did not even take out a sword. I caught the top and bottom of its jaw. I pulled the jaw apart. The wolf creature split in half. Blood went everywhere. The civilians began to scream. I stood there, covered in monster blood. I held the 2 halves of the jaw. A woman behind me fainted. This world was clearly impressed by such things. I dropped the jaw halves and wiped my hands. Then I walked home like nothing had happened. Someone was watching me from a nearby rooftop. A woman in a black coat recorded me. The next morning, my phone rang. It was a number I did not know. I picked up the call. A woman named Agent Ha introduced herself. She was with the Hunter Association. She mentioned the gate incident from yesterday. Video footage showed an unregistered hunter at the scene. She said the hunter was me. I looked at my mother in the kitchen. She was making rice and did not know. I told the agent I would call back. Then I hung up the phone. Yuna came into the kitchen and yawned. She asked if I was going to work. I told her I would go later. Then she asked about the bad boys. My chest tightened at her question. I promised her they would not come again. She smiled and it felt like sunlight. Then my phone buzzed with a text. Agent Ha invited me to the association. She offered a free awakening test. I looked at the message and then at Yuna. There were debt collection notices on the counter. My mother had been hiding the notices. My memories told me the whole story. My father died 3 years ago. The family had loans and predatory interests. The convenience store job did not pay rent. However, an S-class hunter would earn enough. I stood up and grabbed my jacket. I told my mother I was going out. She asked where I was going. I smiled and said I was getting a real job. The Hunter Association headquarters was made of glass. It was 20 floors tall. I had never seen a building this tall. In my old world, such buildings were destroyed quickly. The lobby was packed with hunters and officials. Everyone was louder than they needed to be. Agent Ha met me at the front desk. She took me to a testing room. The room had white walls and a glass sphere. She told me to touch the orb. The orb would read my mana signature. It would rank me from rank F to rank S. I put my hand on the glass. The sphere flickered and changed colors. It turned blue and then green. Then it turned red. Suddenly, the orb exploded. Glass rains down. Agent Ha stumbles backward. Her jaw is open in shock. Every alarm in the building starts screaming. I pull my hand back and look at it. The hand is fine. She asks what just happened. I remark that it was a bad orb. She tells me the orb cost 900 million won. I offer a brief apology. She stares at me, and then at the shattered pedestal. Then she stares at me again. She notes that nobody has ever broken the orb before. I reply that there is a first time for everything. Suddenly, the room fills with men in suits. Their ties are tight, and their expressions are even tighter. An older man pushes through the crowd. He has silver hair and a cane. An association badge sits on his chest. He looks at me intensely and asks what I did. I explain that I simply touched it as instructed. He turns to Agent Ha and asks for my rating. She reports that the orb overloaded. There is no reading. He asks what she means by no reading. She explains it means I am either below F class or above S class. The old man looks at me. He knows exactly which one it is. I can see the truth in his eyes. He is not going to say it out loud. He quietly orders them to classify me as B class provisional. He tells them to register me and give me a hunter card. Then he says to send me home. Agent Ha blinks and reminds him that I broke the orb. He speaks louder and repeats the order for B class provisional. The other men in suits nod very fast. It is clear they want to hide me. That works for me for now. The day the world finds out what I really am is the day the game changes. I am not ready to play that game yet. 2 hours later, I walk out with a plastic card in my pocket. It is a blue card for a B-class provisional hunter. This means I can enter B-rank gates and below. It also means I can start earning money today. On the street outside, someone taps my shoulder. A man calls me Kid Dot. He is a rough man in his mid-30s. A scar marks his jaw. A hunter badge sits on his chest. He mentions hearing that I just cleared the orb test. I remark that news travels fast. He shrugs and explains he runs a low-tier guild. His 3-man team has a D-rank gate scheduled for tonight. INUIJEO and GBU. Their 4th member just quit, and they need a warm body. I ask about the payment. He offers 15% of the loot. I demand 30%. He laughs and reminds me that I am just a fresh B-class provisional. He says I do not get 30%. I tell him that I will not get in his van for less. I turn to walk away. He grunts and offers 25% as his final offer. I turn back and accept the deal. His name is Team Leader Choi. His team includes a tank and a healer. They are all D-class and desperate for money. This is a perfect team for someone who wants to stay under the radar. We meet at a parking lot in Uyangbu at 8 in the evening. We have a van and cheap gear. The gate is behind an abandoned warehouse. It is a pulsing red D-rank gate. Joy hands me a rental sword. The blade is rusted and chipped. He tells me to try not to die. Then he pulls up the gate barrier and we walk in. I can feel the other side. I smell the monsters and taste the blood in the air. It has been 40 years. I am finally home. The gate spits us into a cave. There is whetstone and blue moss. 6-eyed rats, the size of dogs, appear. Troy and his team spread into formation. The tank moves to the front while the healer stays back. Troy tells me to stick behind him. He warns me not to die on my first raid. I agree. The rats charge. There are 12 of them. The tank gets ready to catch the first 2. He does not have to. I move forward. I take 1 step and my rented sword leaves the sheath. 6 rats are dead before they hit the tank's shield. 6 more rats are still coming. I take 2 more steps. I swing the sword down and then sideways. The remaining 6 rats are dead. Silence fills the cave. Joy lowers his own sword, very slowly. He asks what just happened. The healer whispers a prayer in shock. The tank has not even blinked. I walk past them with my sword, still dripping. I ask for the location of the boss room. Choi is too shocked to finish a sentence. I repeat my request for the boss room. He points mechanically. He tells me it is down the tunnel and to the 3rd left. I thank him and walk into the dark. The healer whispers behind me. She notes that I am not D-class or B-class. She asks what I am. Choi speaks quieter than ever. He says I am not a boy or even a hunter. He calls me something else. It was a big mistake to tell his team that out loud. I do not say anything. I just keep walking. The boss is a horned bear. It stands 12 feet tall with an armored hide. Its roar shakes dust from the ceiling. It is a D-rank plus monster dot. It is almost a C-rank. I find it cute. I do not even bother with technique. I use 1 diagonal slash from neck to hip. The bear falls in 2 pieces. The magic stone rolls out of its chest. It is blue and as big as my fist. It is worth about 20 million won. I pick it up and turn around. Choi and his team are standing at the mouth of the tunnel. They are frozen in place. I ask if the split is still 25%. Choi swallows and asks if I want to negotiate. I tell him the deal remains at 25%. He tells me I could take it all. He admits they did nothing to help. I tell him that bringing me here was worth 25%. He blinks and starts to grin. He calls me weird. I tell him I have heard that before. 25% of 20 million is 5 million won. It is enough to pay off 2 months of my mother's debt. It can also fix the leaking roof. Now Yuna can stop hiding when the debt collectors ring the bell. When I get home, my mother is asleep at the table. Bills are stacked next to her. I put an envelope full of cash on top of the bills. She wakes up and blinks. She sees the envelope and starts to cry. I do not sleep. I am already planning for tomorrow. A week goes by. I clear 3 more low-rank gates and bring home 3 more envelopes. My mother stops crying every night. Yuna stops flinching when the doorbell rings. Hong Jail stops showing up at school. His 2 buddies stop looking at me. Everything is going well. I should have known this would not last. When everything goes well, something bad is usually about to happen. I am walking home from school when a black car pulls up. It is slow and deliberate. The window rolls down. A man in his 50s sits in the back. He wears an expensive suit and has cold eyes. He says my name. I ask who is asking. He introduces himself as Han Il-Seong. He notes that I attacked his son last week. He is the father of Hung. He is a rich executive and a problem for the neighborhood. He tells me to get in the car because we need to talk. I tell him I will walk instead. He smiles, but it is a warning. He says his words were not a request. The back door pops open. 2 very large men get out of the front seat. I realize this is how he handles things. I look at the 2 men. I smile back at the executive. I get in the car. I want to see what he thinks he has on me. The car takes us to a penthouse office on the 50th floor. Han Il-Seong sits behind a very expensive desk. He asks if I know who he is. I reply that he just told me. He claims to own 2 logistics companies and 3 real estate holdings. He also owns the Iron Fang Hunter Guild. I say that is cool. His eye twitches. He slides a folder across the desk. The folder contains photos of me killing the monsters in the cave. Someone has been watching me. He calls me a very interesting young man. I call him a very rich one. He says he would like to hire me. I refuse. He tells me I have not heard the offer yet. I tell him I do not need to hear it. He leans back and smiles again. He notes that my mother has a debt of 43 million won. My spine locks. He says he bought that debt last week and now owns it. I realize the situation is bad. He softly explains he can forgive the debt or call it in tomorrow morning. He waits for a reaction. I do not move. My expression remains unchanged. If I move, I will kill him. I am not ready to kill him yet. He orders me to sign a 5-year contract with Iron Fang. I must take his assignments and avoid other guilds. Then the debt would disappear. I ask what happens if I refuse. He says debt collectors will visit my home tomorrow. He says they are rough men. He mentions my sister Yuna. He says she will see terrible things. That was a big mistake. I stand up very slowly. He tells me to sit down because we are not finished. I tell him we are finished. I lean over his desk and put both hands on it. I look him in the eye. I tell him to listen carefully. If even one person comes to my house, I will find him. I promise not to kill him quickly. His mouth opens in surprise. I say I will take everything he loves, one thing at a time. I will make sure he is alive to see it. He stops smiling. I ask Chairman Han if we understand each other. Silence follows. He presses a button on his desk. The 2 large men return to the room. I walk out the door before they can act. If they touch me, I will paint the penthouse red. I get home at midnight, while Yuna is asleep, and my mother is dozing on the couch. Everything looks fine. I know things are not fine. Han Il-Seong does not let threats slide. He is the kind of man who doubles down. I have maybe 48 hours before something happens. I start planning immediately. I need information fast. I must know how deep Iron Fang goes. I need to know their connections and activities. The black market is the only source. Every world has one, even the one that ended. I text team leader Choi. I tell him I need a favor off the books right now. He replies within 30 seconds. He tells me to meet him. We will meet at a basement bar in 20 minutes. I grab my jacket and kiss Yuna on the forehead. Then I leave. Tomorrow, I will stop reacting. I will go on the attack instead. The basement bar is exactly as I expected. There are dim lights and cracked walls. Hunters in leather leave weapons on the counter. Everyone looks up when I walk in. Everyone looks away just as fast. Choi waves me over from a corner booth. He notes that I look serious. I ask him to tell me everything about Iron Fang and Han Il-Seong. He whistles and notes that I do not ask small questions. He signals to the bartender. 2 shots appear and he knocks one back. He explains that Iron Fang is a money launderer. He says they clean illegal magic stones. They run underground fights between low-rank hunters. 3 hunters vanished last year and their families receive payments. I ask about Han Il-Seong. Choi says he is untouchable and politically connected. He says the man owns half a member of parliament. I ask what he means by half. Choi says his wife is a congresswoman. I sip the second shot. The alcohol tastes like nothing. My old body could drink a barrel. I do not feel it in this body. I say there must be a weak point. Choi leans forward. He says, everyone has a weak point. For Han Il-seong, it is the underground fights. If someone proves they exist, his empire will fall. I ask how to get into a fight. He says it is by invitation only. I say, I must find someone with an invitation. Choi hesitates before speaking. He says a woman has been investigating Iron Fang for 6 months. She is an investigator working off the books. I ask for her name. He looks at me for a long time. Then he says her name is Hyun Ju Yeon. I do not know that name yet, but I am about to. Choi says that Hyun Ju Yeon is the only female S-class hunter in Korea. She is an S-class hunter. My spine straightens at the mention of her rank. I ask Choi how strong she really is. Choi explains she is strong enough that Iron Fang leaves her alone. However, she is not strong enough to bring them down by herself. She needs evidence to act. I ask where I can find her. Choi tells me that I do not find her. Instead, he says she finds people. He laughs a little and suggests a way to speed up the process. He slides a napkin across the table. A gate designation is written on the napkin. It is a C-rank gate in northern Gyeonggi. The gate opens in 3 days. She is leading the extermination team there. I ask if I should just show up at the location. Choi says I should just show up. A B-class provisional hunter is not usually allowed inside a C-rank team without an invitation. However, if she sees me and thinks I am interesting, she will act. I suggest that she will invite me. Choi says she will interrogate me, but notes it is the same thing. I accept the plan. I fold the napkin and put it in my pocket. Then I hear a sound outside. It is faint. My old ears and this new body pick up the sound when I focus. I hear a child scream. It is Yuna. The sound comes from 4 kilometers away, at my apartment. The distance is nearly 2.5 miles. I should not be able to hear that distance. However, I hear it because the world is telling me. I am on my feet before Choi finishes his sentence. He asks where I am going. I tell him I am going home. I do not take the stairs. Instead, I take the wall. Choi's jaw drops as I clear a 2-meter railing without touching it. Then I begin to run. I have never moved this fast in this body. My muscles scream and my bones bend. My lungs feel like they are collapsing. I do not care about the pain. I cover 4 kilometers in 6 minutes. I turn the last corner and see my apartment door. The door is kicked in and split down the middle. The lock lies on the ground. Inside, I hear rough voices. These men are certainly not debt collectors. Han Il-seong sent his guild members. Iron Fang hunters are inside my home with my mother and sister. My blood does not run cold. Instead, it runs hot. It is hotter than it has been in 40 years, which is nearly half a century. I step through the broken door. 3 men stand in the living room wearing guild jackets. They have their weapons drawn. Mom is on the floor, holding Yuna behind her. Yuna is crying, and Mom is bleeding from her lip. One man turns and grins at me. He says it is good that I am home. This is a very big mistake. I close the door behind me, very calmly, and lock it. I tell them to take their hands off my family. My voice does not shake. The 3 men laugh at me. The leader says I have 20 seconds to sign a contract. He says my sister will lose a finger if I do not sign. He pulls out a paper for a 5-year exclusive contract with Iron Fang. He also pulls out a knife. I do not need 20 seconds. I take 1 step forward. The temperature in the apartment drops suddenly. My sword aura leaks out even though I do not have a sword. The leader's smile flickers. I take another step. The knife in his hand starts to shake because his hand is shaking. I tell Mom to take Yuna to the bathroom. I tell them to lock the door. I do not look at her. Mom does not ask questions, and she moves. Yuna stops crying and watches me. I do not want her to see this. I tell Mom to move now. She scoops up Yuna and runs to the bathroom. The door slams and the lock clicks. Now it is just me and 3 dead men. They do not know their fate yet. The leader recovers first and snarls as he charges with his knife up. I catch the knife between 2 fingers and twist. His wrist breaks and he screams. The other 2 men rush me from both sides. I do not have a sword. Therefore, I use one of their weapons. I pull the blade from the leader's broken hand. I turn and sweep the weapon. The man on my left falls because he is missing his knee. I throw the man on my right at the ceiling. He falls back down and does not get up. The leader whimpers and crawls toward the door. I put my foot on his back. I ask who sent him. He says it was Chairman Han. I tell him I know Chairman Han. I demand the name of the guild captain who ordered the raid. He says it was Captain Bei. I remember the name, Bei, and thank the man. Then I pick him up by the collar and tell him to look at me. I tell him to inform his chairman that his 48 hours are up. I am coming for everything he owns. He brought this on his family. I drop the man. I let him crawl out the broken door. A message does not work if the messenger is dead. The next morning, I am on the news. The report describes an unidentified B-class hunter who assaulted 3 Iron Fang personnel in North Gyeonggi. An investigation is ongoing. Mom stares at the television with her hand over her mouth. Yuna sits next to her and is quiet. Mom whispers my name Dojin, and asks if that was me. I do not lie to her. I confirm that it was me. She stares at me, but she is not scared or proud. She is just trying to understand. She says, I have been different since I woke up in the hospital. I nod. I do not say why. I cannot tell her yet. However, she says that I am still her son. My throat closes up. This woman I met 3 weeks ago just called me her son. I do not know if she is talking to me or the previous boy. Either way, I take her hand. I promise to fix everything for her. Yuno crawls onto my lap. She wraps her arms around my neck. She whispers for me not to go where she cannot find me. Something in my chest cracks, but it is not painful. It is something better. I promise her that I will not leave. Then my phone buzzes from an unknown number. I check the single text message. The message says I have her attention. She wants to meet tomorrow at a coffee shop in Gwanghwaman at 2 in the afternoon. She says to come alone. It is signed by Hyun Ju Yeon. The timing is perfect. However, I wonder how she got my number. I stare at the phone and then I laugh. Yuna asks, what is funny? I tell her, it is nothing. Everything is about to get very interesting. The next day, at 2 in the afternoon, I arrive at the Gwanghwaman coffee shop. Hyun Ju Yeon is exactly what I imagined. She has silver hair from Mana Overload. Her eyes are dark red and she wears a black leather coat. She has a sword on her hip inside the residential coffee shop. Nobody else is around us. She cleared the entire floor before I arrived. These are the habits of the rich. She calls me SEO Dojin. She does not stand up, but gestures for me to sit across from her. I sit down. She says that I broke the awakening orb. I reply that news travels. She notes that I cleared a C-rank horned bear with a rented D-rank sword in 1 hit. I reply that news travels far. She says, I put 3 Iron Fang enforcers in the hospital. I say that news travels dangerously fast. She almost smiles. She asks what I am, but it is not a question. I tell Miss Hyun that I am a high school student. She says that I am not. I agree with her. She leans forward. She says she only cares about what I am going to do. Iron Fang will try to kill me publicly. They cannot afford to look weak after being humiliated. I tell her that I know. She says I have 3 days before it starts. I tell her again that I know. She says I need protection. I tell her that I do not. She raises an eyebrow. I tell her that she needs me instead. Her eyebrow goes higher and she asks me to explain. I tell her she has been investigating Iron Fang for 6 months. She has nothing because Chairman Han is politically protected. Nobody will testify because they do not want to disappear. There is silence. I suggest that a B-class provisional hunter could walk into an Iron Fang underground fight. She could record them extorting hunters. Her eyes narrow. She says that I would be the bait. I tell her I would be a fisherman and she would be the bait. She actually laughs. It is the first time she has smiled since I sat down. She says I might be the most interesting man she has met in 10 years. I tell Miss Hyun, that is a low bar. She agrees. She stands up and extends her hand. She asks if we are partners. I shake her hand and agree. Now, I have my first ally in this world. Ju Yang and I plan for 3 days. She teaches me how the Modern Hunter Association works. We discuss procedures and politics. She tells me who to trust and who to bribe. I teach her nothing. She notices this. She asks how I already know everything she is telling me. I tell her I study many books. She says that I lie badly. I tell her I lie efficiently. She lets it go for now. On the 3rd day, we get the invitation. There is an underground fight in an Incheon warehouse in 2 nights. Iron Fang is hosting and they specifically requested me. Ju Yeon says I am the star attraction. They are going to put me against something I cannot survive. I say that is good. She asks why it is good. I explain that they will not hold back. This means we will get everything on record. She stares at me and says I am insane. I tell her I haven't told that before. Then she gets a phone call. Her face goes pale. I ask what happened. It is an emergency. A B-rank plus gate just opened in downtown Seoul during rush hour. I ask how many casualties there are so far. She says there are 27 casualties. That is more than the capacity of a small bus. The number is climbing. I ask which S-class hunter is responding. She says nobody's available. Every S-class hunter in the country is on assignment. The room goes quiet. She looks at me and I look at her. She asks if I want to break the rules for the 2nd time this week. I stand up and grab my coat. I tell Miss Haeon to lead the way. Downtown Seoul is a mess. Cars are overturned and windows are shattered. A pulsing purple gate sits in the middle of the intersection. This is a B rank plus gate. It is way above the level of a B class provisional hunter. Chu-yan is already there when I arrive. Her sword is bloody. She is fighting 3 creatures at once. She is barely winning. Behind her, civilians are trapped in a bus and screaming. I see 1 creature peel away. It runs toward the bus. Then a 4th and 5th creature crawl out of the gate. This is bad. Ju-yang shouts for me to get the civilians out. She says she will hold the gate. I tell her to cover the bus instead. I will hold the gate. She says, I cannot because I am not an S-class hunter. I tell her I am not one officially. I run past her toward the gate. 6 creatures are pouring out now. Then there are 7 and 8. They are big and fast. It has been 40 years since I fought this many at once. I forgot how much I missed it. I do not have my old sword. I do what any sword god would do. I take a bone sword off the first monster as I kill it. It is sharp enough. The second monster charges me. I take its head off. The third one tries to flank me. I take its legs off, and then its arms and head. The 4th monster is smart. It tries to circle behind me. I let it because I am already turning. My bone sword is swinging. Its body hits the ground in 3 pieces. The next 4 monsters come at once. I do not move. Instead, I wait. When they get close, I move just once. I perform a single spin. Every one of them falls. Behind me, Ju-yan has finished her fight. She is watching me with her mouth open. She says that was not B-class work. Thought I agree with her. Then the gate itself shakes. Something bigger is coming out. It is the gate boss. This is perfect. A lot of people saw me kill 8 monsters. However, my hood was up, so nobody knows who I am. The gate boss will be a public reveal. There are cameras everywhere. I am not ready to be famous yet. I tell Ju-yan to cover me. I ask her to block the news cameras. She blinks, and then grins. She jumps in front of the cameras as the boss steps through. I go to work fast. The boss stands 15 feet tall. It has 4 arms and 2 heads. Purple armor covers every inch of the creature. Specialists estimate its rank as an A-class threat. This will be fun. The boss roars at me. I do not roar back. Instead, I simply walk toward the creature. My pace is slow and casual. A bone sword rests on my shoulder. The boss swings all 4 arms at once. I duck under the first arm. I slip past the second arm. I deflect the third arm. Finally, I catch the 4th arm. I do not let go of that 4th arm. I use the limb to swing myself upward. I land on the shoulder of the boss. Its second head turns to bite me. I drive my bone sword through that second head. The creature shrieks in pain. It drops down to 1 knee. The first head is still snarling and swinging. I plant the sword deeper and twist. The whole body of the monster seizes. Then, I whisper a command in the language of my old world. I tell the monster to break. Its skeleton collapses inside the armor. Just like that, the boss falls. The gate flickers and then closes. I land safely on my feet. The whole intersection is silent. Behind me, Juayan is still blocking the camera crews. She waves her sword theatrically to buy me time. I pull out my hood and slip into the alley. By the time the cameras get past her, I am gone. The news reports that an unidentified assistant helped the S-class hunter. This outcome is perfect for now. However, someone was watching from a distance. A tall figure in a dark coat stood on a rooftop blocks away. He held a phone and watched the scene. When the boss fell, the stranger smiled. His phone recorded the moment I spoke the command. He knew that word. He knew the language from my world. That language should be dead. This means I am not the only person who came through the gate. Later that night, I meet Julian at her apartment. Her walls are covered in a caseboard. She has photos of the Iron Fang Guild and Han Il-Siang. There are images of guild members and underground fight locations. It looks like the obsession of a police detective. That is because she is one. Jujian tells me the fight is in 2 nights. I tell her I am ready whenever she is. Then she turns to me with a serious expression. She wants to know who I really am. I claim that I simply study many books. Jujian does not believe me. I sigh and sit down on her couch. I look at the ceiling and warn her. If I tell the truth, she will think I am insane. She admits that she already thinks that. I ask her to promise one thing. She must never tell anyone else. She must not tell the association or her family. She agrees to the condition. I explain that I am not from this earth. Her eyes narrow at this statement. I tell her I am from another world. That world also had gates and monsters. However, my world lost the war. For 40 years, I fought for my people. In the end, everyone died. I was the last person standing. I killed the monster called Barhout. That ended us. When I killed the beast, a door opened. The portal dragged both of us through. I woke up in a hospital bed. I was in a dying body belonging to a bullied boy. That boy asked me to protect his family with his last breath. He wanted me to save this world. So, I said yes to his request. Ju-Yeon sits down next to me. She asks what happened to the monster Barhout. I tell her I do not know yet. However, someone at the gate today whispered a word. It was a word in a language only my world spoke. Her face goes white with fear. She asks if the monster is here. I suspect someone is here. I will make Iron Fang scream on live television soon. I am going to hunt down whoever came through with me. I will keep my promise to the boy who died. Ju-Yeon stares at me and calls me strange. I realize I am no longer fighting alone. 2 nights later, we go to a warehouse in Incheon. It is an underground fight. 200 hunters stand in the crowd. Iron Fang members line the walls. A big cage sits in the middle of the room. Chairman Han sits in the very important person box and sips wine. He has a reptile smile on his face. I am the surprise main event of the night. The announcer shouts my name to the crowd. My opponent is an A-class fighter named Bloodfist Ru. The crowd cheers for the match. Bloodfist Ru steps into the cage. He is 6 feet and 5 inches tall. He weighs 250 pounds. The fighter wears 2 magic-enhanced gauntlets. He grins and tells me, my father sold me cheap. I tell him the man is not my father. He tells me to try not to bleed out too fast. I roll my neck to prepare. Jujian is disguised as a waitress nearby. She is filming everything from behind the bar. This fight is going to be very short. Bloodfist swings his fist first. I let the fist connect with my jaw. The blow rocks me back half a step. Then I look at the fighter and smile. His face falls in surprise. A fist like that should have killed a B-class hunter. I am still standing there. I ask him whose turn it is now. Then I move forward. I land one punch straight to his chest. His ribs cave in from the force. His body flies backward across the cage. He slams into the wall and bends the bars. The fighter does not get up. Silence fills the warehouse. Then, panic begins. The crowd erupts as bets are torn up. Chairman Han stands up with a red face. Julian is grinning behind the bar. She is recording every second of the chaos. Now, it is time for phase 2. Chairman Han shouts from his box. He says I was not supposed to win. I step out of the cage and wipe my mouth. I tell him I already know that. He says that I have embarrassed him. Then he snaps his fingers. 50 Iron Fang enforcers draw their weapons. They surround me in a circle. The crowd starts running in fear. This chaos is perfect for my plan. Chairman Han descends from his box like a king. He orders his men to kill me and the girl. He noticed Zhu Yang was filming. I call out to Zhu Jiang across the warehouse. I ask if the live feed is working. She grins and says everyone in Korea is watching. The chairman and his men freeze in place. They realize the chairman just confessed on camera. He ordered a murder in front of thousands. His empire is officially over. Chairman Han turns white and demands the feed be cut. Zhu Jiang says the video is already trending. The chairman orders his men to kill us. The men hesitate because they are afraid. I crack my knuckles and give them a warning. I tell them to run in 10 seconds if they want to live. 20 men drop their weapons and run away. 30 men decide to stay. This is a big mistake. I do not remember every single hit. I only remember the sound of breaking bones and metal. I take the gauntlets off the unconscious body of Bloodfist. Now I have weapons of my own. I am angry because these people threaten my family. They were going to keep coming for us. I choose to end the threat now. 10 seconds later, 30 enforcers are on the ground. They are not dead, but they are not moving. Chairman Han backs toward the exit. He turns to run, but I appear in front of him. He whispers that I should have taken the deal. I mentioned the 7,001 crayon set. His men broke. He is confused by my statement. I tell him he does not owe me millions in debt. He owes me 7,000 won and a broken door. I lift him by the collar and then drop him. I press my boot onto his chest. I tell him he is going to jail. First, he must answer 3 questions. He tells me who is buying stolen magic stones. He explains who paid him to threaten hunters. Then I ask about the man who speaks the dead language. The chairman blinks in surprise. I describe a tall man in a dark coat. The chairman says a man like that visited 2 weeks ago. That man wanted a list of every new hunter. I was on that list. The stranger paid the chairman with black magic stones. I tell the chairman he has been useful. Police sirens echo in the distance. Jujian and I leave to find the safe at his house. The mansion is empty when we arrive. Everyone fled after the live broadcast. The safe is hidden behind a portrait in the study. Ju-Yeon opens it with a mana blade in 2 minutes. Inside we find cash and a small black box. I open the box to find 3 magic stones. The stones are the size of marbles, but look wrong. They are black with white veins, like a shattered mirror. My hand shakes, because I recognize the color. These are not normal magic stones. They are fragments of the monster bar. The room goes very cold. I explain that the monster shattered when he came through the door. Someone is collecting the pieces to put him back together. Jujian asks how much time we have left. In my world, it took 10 years for him to destroy everything. However, This time, he is taking a shortcut. He will be finished in a few weeks. Ju-Yeon wants to destroy the fragments now. I try to slash a stone with my bone sword. The blade shatters instead of the stone. Only a sword god can destroy these pieces. I need my old sword, which was destroyed 40 years ago. Suddenly, my phone buzzes with a text. The message asks if I missed the sender. It uses my old name. I look out the window at a rooftop. A tall figure in a dark coat is watching me. He waves and then walks off the edge of the roof. He does not fall because he is barhout. The game is starting again. This time, I do not even have a sword.